And that next stage had to do with the embryo. The embryo that was the organic first resurrection during the time from 1850 to 1950 became a fetus. It advanced. And what's a fetus? Now the difference here, the fetus is, the fetus is there. There's signs and symptoms. And so it's not like something hidden, like an embryo is deep hidden within and everything. But when you have a fetus, it's there, and you have to deal with it in some manner or other. And so that's what happened. But also with the coming of Cosman came the embryo for the next step up, the organic second resurrection, which is what is required. That's what fraternity leads man toward. So that they say in Oahspe that fraternity is now an embryo. Back when the Oahspe was given in 1882, it's now an embryo, and that's what it means. It was an embryo. And what happened then is during this phase from 1850 to 1950, man, the Republic Social Order, the Republic Social Order became established in a surety throughout the world during that period. So man had come into his own, the Republic Social Order, and it became established as a surety among man at that time. So that would be the stage of the Republic Social Order being the stage from young adult to mature adult, essentially. And when he reached 1950, I'm going to use that instead of 49 because 50s are easier for people to comprehend. So I'll just say 1950, even though it's, if we look at the actual dates, when doing the prophecy things, we go with 1849 and 1949 and 2049, but we'll just say 1950. But in 1950, what happened is that man had reached maturity in the Republic Social Order, and a full maturity, and the organic first resurrection was born at that time. So in 1949, the organic first resurrection was born. And now, back at the time of 1849, when the Cosman first began, there was also, while the, let's just put it this way. In 1949, the embryo of the crystalline third resurrection was established within man. It became an embryo. I mean, the seed of it was there. The seed of it came back and was essentially fructified at the time of Chisiviana Theotis, who had around the whole earth and her atmosphere heavens had more or less materialized in the ether an egg of sorts. And this was the fructifier, essentially, for all these things that were going to happen. The nurturing, the nurturance for all this, the provision for man to progress toward Jehovah's kingdom. But not just for Jehovah's kingdom. Now, she didn't do that just for that. But we have to remember that this time is also the end of a measure, the measure of Cephas, and we're beginning the era of Cosman. So we've got, so she's setting that both to seal off the Cephas time and to start something anew, which was the Cosman era. And so, so she set all that, plus she started a new measure. So she started a lot of things, just like when Sathantes came, he started a lot of things too, got established. But anyway, to get back to this, in 1849, all that had been fructified with Chrysiviana Theotis, but it wasn't really sort of an embryonic state until 1950 as far as the crystal and third resurrection concerned. Now what that means is essentially the conception of it, being able to perceive and feel exactly what it is. And now when we talk about this, we're not talking about just, a single individual being able to perceive it all, but we're talking about the mass of humanity. Because this is what Cosmon is about. It's about lifting everyone up. It's about everyone moving toward Jehovah's kingdom on earth. So when we're speaking these things, we're not talking about the pioneers who come at the front end. Because there's always pioneers at the front end, but we're talking about when the bulk of humanity gets it. So we're talking like the normal curve of distribution, bell curve of distribution, when that bulk comes in and they get it. So that's what happened in 1950, and the organic first resurrection became born as a reality, born as a soul reality among humanity. Now what does that mean, a soul reality? Well, this is where that house comes in, because that house is composed of substance from the soul. It's in the depths. It's at the nadir. It's down the lowest you can get, as low as it can go. It can't get any lower. The lowest point, and that's where this house is built. It's the foundation, so to speak. And this particular house is where the soul resides. Now, man's going to go through a progression here. And he has been going through a progression from 1849 to 2049. It's a 200-year progression. And this progression has 4 phases to it, or 4 stages, if you prefer that word. And these phases and stages are 4 stages or phases in the birth of fraternity within the social order of man. So, which means by 2049, that's when the fraternal social order will come into ascendancy amongst the world's people. It will be born, so to speak, into the world, just like the Republic social order was born into the world. And one thing too that we have to remember about these types of things is that it's not like flipping on a switch and all of a sudden the light goes on, but these things, they have a build-up toward them, and it's more like going around a curve, so to speak, and getting more and more fulfilled as it goes, and then there's a tipping point beyond which it can't turn back and everything. But there is a but there are definite turn points, and those turn points can be found out, can be determined,